Hey, what up, YouTubers? It's your boy, The Visionary. Welcome to another episode of Firesidechats. Today's episode will be titled Predictive Programming and PsyOps. Yes, I know this sounds like a very conspiracy theory, alternative media, extreme right wing paranoia type of title or subject to talk about, but it's something I think people need to talk about given the current events that have been popping off within the last year or so. And more or less, in regards to seeing certain things in everyday life, in everyday parts of your culture or social circles and stuff like that, if you pay attention and you keep your eyes open, you start to see certain things. I'm a big pattern person. I see patterns in almost everything. It's basically how the humans are. We see patterns in things, and there's an actual condition. I forgot the name of the condition where you people tend to see patterns more or less in things that have no patterns specifically. But yeah, there's. If you pay attention to certain things, I know a lot of people that either watch TV or they look at TV shows or movies, or pay attention to the news, or read books and magazines and comic books and stuff like that. You start to notice a certain pattern in certain things that, if you don't pay attention to it, you will never catch it. You know what I mean? For instance, this topic of this episode really was birthed from, I was having a conversation online with a friend of mine, or a group of friends of mine, on this new game that came out, not new, but it's kind of new, called the Last of Us or something like that. It's supposed to be like a end of the world bioterrorist apocalypse or some shit like that. Basically, some type of virus gets released in the city and people get infected and they turn into, it's not zombie, it's like something else. Like, think of zombies, but instead they like, if they bite you, the virus itself is plant based. So when you get infected, you act somewhat like a zombie, but like over time, plants and spores and mushrooms start growing out of them. You turn into a fucking plant. That's basically what it is. So we're talking about this game, and it's the basic premise of the game. It's the usual thing, and I started bringing up the fact that there's been a bunch of games that have been just like it. It's no different from any other post-apocalyptic bioterrorist game, right? So you go over the storyline. Some virus gets released by some sort of government military operation or some private contractors who, are heavy into bioterrorism or bio-warfare. It gets released, the people get infected, and then they corner off the city or quarantine it, and they pass martial law and quarantine cities and try to keep the infected in. And then, everything falls apart, and then the people break off into tribes, and then that's how things get started, period. So if you look at every other game that's like that, it's always that concept or that premise. It's the end of the world bioweapon, government involvement or private military contractor involvement, martial law, and survival play, right? So that's always been the main component of these games. And the reason why I brought up the whole concept of predictive programming is because predictive programming is a concept where a certain idea or premise is basically downloaded into a person's unconscious, right? When they're watching a TV show or something, that TV show or that movie has been constructed to such an extent where a certain idea or concept has been implanted in the very nature of the film. So when a person who's listening and watching it, who's more or less objective in what the fuck they're watching, they do not notice that certain ideas are being programmed into their head, so that whenever they see or come across a situation that resembles what they see in a movie, they're more likely to act a certain way given what they saw in the movie. For instance, one of the examples I came across that was very interesting was The Matrix, right? So the whole concept of The Matrix, basically humans create machines, become conscious, There's a big war between humans and machines. Basically, machines won. They take over humanity. Humanity's fighting back. So in the machine world, or in the Matrix, there's one guy who's supposed to be the savior, the Messiah, and he's supposed to fight for mankind and break free from control of the machines, blah, blah, blah. Now, the whole concept of the movie, where predictive programming comes in, is that in the movie, the whole idea is that you do not have the power to break yourself free yourself. You always need some sort of Messiah figure to come and save you. Now, the reason why this particular concept is important is because if a group of people who, let's call them the leaders or the rulers or the elite, want to rule over a majority of people, what they do is they oppress the people, and because they consistently program the people with this sort of predictive programming, where you do not have the power yourself to do certain things, either because you're not smart enough, you're not strong enough, you always need that one individual, that one Messiah, that Neo character to, show you the way, to show you the light. So it's less likely that a bunch of people might just wake up and break free from the control versus one individual who might come and say, you know what, I'm going to do everything and I have all these special powers and I can save you, yada yada. That's basically the premise behind what predictive programming is. And it's one of those things you start to see in other contexts too, like the whole video game concept where we're talking about the whole end of the world bioterrorist attack. The military is involved, or the government is involved, and then it's martial law. In all these games, that formula is there. The bioweapon, which is created by the government, mysteriously gets released. The government, aka military's involvement, or / some sort of private military firm is involved with releasing the virus itself. Number 3, martial law, which is a big thing in all these games. Some sort of martial law happens where the government says, you know what, we're gonna corner off the fucking quarantine area. You can't go in and out. And also part of that in all these games, like I just saw on the Rest of Us or The Last of Us, there are certain instances in the game where you see the military driving around and they're just shooting people. They're literally massacring people for no reason, and it's like that's something that's very, very scary that they keep repeating over and over again in these types of games. And I thought it was kind of interesting that we were having this conversation about this, and it's like, yo, we played this game before. It's called Resident Evil. It's called Walking Dead. It's called whatever. It's something that we played before. There's only subtle differences in the storyline that makes each game different. But the main thing is they're all the same game, and they all have the same predictive programming. The whole, there's going to be martial law, so get ready for it, and get ready for this mega OD virus that's going to kill a lot of people, and, blah, 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 blah. Stuff like that. I thought it was kind of interesting. I wanted to talk about that some. So pretty much that's it for this particular episode of Fireside Chats, Predictive Programming and PsyOps. This is part 1. There's going to be a part 2 in the next couple of days. Stay tuned and peace.